Hello everyone. Welcome back for Misfits Racing League Endurance Racing action. We are here for Suzuka, one of my personal favorite circuits, and of course it is the Japanese Grand Prix. You're following along with the Formula One calendar, and of course what would have been normally the Japanese Grand Prix weekend in this calendar, however replaced by Turkey this weekend. Joining me for all of the action, Mr. Unicorn. How you doing?
Yes, Jeff, thank you. Looking forward to this one. Suzuka obviously wasn't long ago that we were here with the tier divisions, but now the endurance series, we're doubling the laps. 53 tonight for everyone to find their way through. Obviously the normal 18 minutes of qualifying, but what a track this is, and not opposed to some rain here. It's not unlikely, so we'll see how everyone fares, but it's a long race, and well, we've got a very, very quick grid. It looks like, for some of the names I'm seeing pop into the lobby. But as we get through into qualifying in a few moments' time, we'll see where everyone's pace sort of lands. But very, very exciting track, very iconic track. And we'll see what happens in tonight's race.
Yeah, 18 turns here around Suzuka. You absolutely love Suzuka. Figure 8 configured circuit. And well, with the lineup that we have showing up tonight, I imagine everyone's going to be really, really thrilled to see the racing around this circuit. We're going to be seeing, I think, a little bit of dynamic weather tonight, but we're going to have 18 minutes of qualifying, of course, 53 laps, equal performance cars. Everyone's going to be able to get their setups dialed in, but we're just waiting on a few drivers. But really, really excited. We saw some amazing races here just a few weeks ago for the MRL racing once we came back from our break week. And well, today we're seeing a lot of those repeat drivers come to the grid with that experience from Suzuka, with those setups, with all of that practice, and I think it's going to really provide us with a stellar race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just waiting on a few more people, and then we could get through. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting track, and like you said, dynamic weather might be playing a role tonight, and obviously that creates that drama in the pit lane that we always want to see. When is the right time to pit? When is it the time to switch from inters to dries, or dries to inters, or inters to wets, and vice versa? All of that good stuff. So if we do see some dynamic weather, I think it would be very, very exciting, very interesting, and for the drivers, it's difficult in a 50% race, but in a 100% race, you've obviously got the endurance factor of that. Obviously, anyone who's done full endurance races in other games it's a little bit more demanding. But here in F1, everyone's so used to 50% races. If you've got to pile on some difficult, decisions on top of that, then it can get a lot harder. As we are just waiting on a couple more people, but yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how things go.
One thing I can't wait to see is if this is going to be a very super clean circuit or not, whether or not we see some drama in turn 1, the S's, some risks taken. You never know who tries to put it wheel to wheel through the S's and who dares to kind of go and push those overtakes. Not a lot of significant overtaking opportunities here in Suzuka, and we're going to show you, of course, through the laps and qualifying, really where we can maybe see some good hot zones for overtaking, but there are not too many of them. You have maybe the run into Spoon, seen some wheel-to-wheel action coming through out of there, up through into 130R. You have the run into turn 1. There's a few spots, but it's a very, if you get trapped in sector 1, it's tough. Flowing through into sector 2, really sector 3 is the only area you're going to find any opportunities to overtake. We'll see it in a few moments as we get drivers in the lobby.
Yeah, I think turn 1 as well, and turn 2, it's called the first turn. That 1 flows into 2. I think you could go up the inside there. We saw that a couple of times. I think Noel Coleman tried that one a couple of times and worked pretty successful for him, going up the inside into 1 and then holding that inside into 2. It's a very interesting section of the corner, but the S's, it doesn't usually end well when people go side by side through there. Dunlop as well, if it wasn't followed by the Degners, I think that would be possible. But again, side by side, like you said, very tricky through there. The hairpin and sector 3, as you mentioned, brilliant places for overtaking. And there's only one bit of DRS here as well, done that start finish straight. So that plays a role and means that things aren't too heavily impacted when the rain does start to fall down, as I think we are now seeing the countdown timer get going. As I think we're just waiting on. Well, there we go. It disappeared and then it came back again. So we've got 5 seconds on the clock until qualifying, and we'll see who comes out on top again. I don't think I know the weather report. I don't know if you've seen it shift, but
I am not in the loop on the weather. We're gonna see what we have in front of us in just a moment's time as everyone gets loaded into session. Big shout out to Mormouth. Thank you so much for the resub, tier 1 for 4 months, and thank you to everybody in the stream today viewing along with us. Thank you to everyone hitting that follow button, and of course to all of our repeat viewers here joining us week after week for all the racing action. It's greatly appreciated, and I know the drivers love it very much to know that you are here supporting them.
And just waiting on a couple of drivers to get connected to the lobby, but it always means the world to see everyone come back, enjoy the streams, enjoy the racing. Of course, that's what we're all here for. And well, this not quite the track that we're going to see tomorrow. It should be the track that we would see in tomorrow, but obviously the scheduling this year has been a little bit different in real life, and well, as such, we won't see a real in-person Japanese Grand Prix, but we will see this digital, I'd say recreation, but it's not a recreation. It's before that would have even happened. So adaptation. I mean, it'll be more apt. And
yeah,
I know that there was talk that the Red Bull livery would be added. I don't think it's in the game as of today, so I don't think we'll see the Honda-inspired livery, which would have been nice here around Suzuka. Obviously, that's what it was intended for, but I don't think it's available to the drivers just yet.
Ready? We have had an issue with Yar as we load into the session. Hopefully we can get him back. Looking at the grid, looking at the weather, things looking all right here. Nice bright sunny day, some clouds in the sky, and of course, taking a look at this grid, we have a very competitive lineup in front of us today. Brownie in the McLaren, Carter Lundy in the Aston Martin. Pair of Mercedes, we have Yar and Kai. Four-door sedan over at Williams with Vexit in the Alpine. Blind for Red Bull, Krill in the Williams. Jeffrey Ritchie over for Aston Martin with Siffy in the top 10 on the timing tower at the moment in the other McLaren. We have Kazi in the Ferrari. Cotters in the other Alpine with the pair of AlphaTauris, Mikau and Tuptus on the grid today with Alex Bitto in the Haas. He's the only Haas on the grid today so far. We may have a 20th driver join us just in a few moments. As I say that, Gabox moves into the grid as well. Wisp in the Red Bull. We have IDJ and Candy King, the pair of Alfa Romeos, 18 and 19 presently.
Yeah, and it's Cozy who's out first onto the track in the Ferrari, and we'll see what he can bring to the table. He's out a lot earlier than everyone else, and I wonder, if he just sort of went straight forward, or whether everyone else sort of taking the time to look at those setups. Maybe, like you said, I think there was hints at dynamic weather, so obviously Parc Ferme on means that you've got to run a setup that you're happy running in the race in 53 laps. Well, you want the race setup to be more comfortable than the setup you're using here in qualifying. A mistake here not going to be as costly as a mistake in the race could be. As Cozy gets ready to start the first lineup, just coming through 130R into the Casio triangle, of course. The final three corners, 16, 17, 18, all stringing together. You'll see him here run wide to the left-hand side as he starts that DRS open for the one and only time that it will be hugging this left-hand side of the opposite of what it'll do at the end. Into turn 1, flowing into turn 2, hugging as close to the inside as he can, but not touching the curb. Some of the curbs here will really throw the car off again, just scraping them barely with the edge of the tires, but trying to avoid them at all costs as he comes through 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 that form the S's into the Degnar curve. This long, swooping left-hander with elevation changes to boot, firing out into the first of 2 Degnars. Here the curbs are a little bit more useful, and especially on the exit here as he goes onto the green and onto the concrete, back onto the track, into the hairpin now. Turn 11 and getting it through there nicely on the power as well, cleanly, not seeing any wheel spin or slip from the rear. Now, long right-hander of turn 12, very slight full throttle throughout the entire corner into Spoon. 13 leading into 14 again. This corner, you can use those curbs on the outside, and he uses all of the width of the track to his advantage without invalidating, obviously, being the most important thing. Now, down this long back straight, no DRS, but still possibilities for overtaking through 130R, hugging the inside to the left there and into the Casio triangle. 16 into 17. Again, all of the curb on the inside, and then hugging to the right, exactly the opposite of what he did at the start, making a short run to the line as possible. That's a 1:28.919 to open us up later in qualifying.
Very good run there from the Ferrari, and a solid lap to really give us a look of the Suzuka circuit. Next car to come through now going to be the Red Bull, the Wisp, Swedish driver. 130 dead on the medium compound tires.
There goes Richie, a 1:28.378. As Siffy wrangles his car through the Casio triangle, really having a few problems there in the McLaren. The rear end got very slightly, but he does beat with time by 0.6 on those mediums. I don't think the medium runners will really be finding too much pace out on track with those yellow walled compounds.
Wisp with a major issue coming out of turn 2, losing the car and his wing. 4-door sedan crosses the line into that 5th position. Behind him it was Bitto, then Vexit. Very solid run there coming out of the Alpine at 27.834. Top Tuss 28.791. Candy King, he pushes through on the mediums. Things are getting competitive here early.
Well, Vexit, he's just gone half a second quicker than anyone else, and Richie's 4/10 ahead, so Vexit's nearly got a second on, most of the field right now. Obviously, there's a lot of medium runners out right now who will presumably go a little bit faster towards the end of things, but right now that is a very, very impressive lap time from him. I think next across the line will be Gavox in the Haas. Again, on those mediums, we'll see whether this is a bit more competitive. It looks like it's going to be a huge lap time in terms of numbers. It was, on my screen, it looked like it was nearly 3 minutes, which is ridiculously long. Obviously, some sort of problem or timing tower glitch there for him. Yar, he's coming through out of 130 into the Casio triangle. We'll see where the Spaniard can go. Well, he's going to go straight into the pits. That's where he's off to. And very quick in there as well.
Gabox G, ladies and gentlemen. An unfortunate issue as we follow all along through Dunlop. And, well, there's a big spin for him.
A nice save to keep that out of the wall at any point. But still going to be a little bit of a knock to the confidence as DJ, he's on his first flying lap of the session in the Alfa Romeo. His teammate currently P9 on 129.690. Obviously, the Endurance Series, they're not full-time drivers here. Obviously, DJ has been full-timing and in Tier 4, I believe. But here in the Endurance, it's sort of first-come, first-served basis for the most part. And our DJ, we'll see what he can do. He's on the slot, so you'd expect him to go somewhere in the middle of the top 10 as he flies down the back straight towards 130R. And so far, it's been a pretty clean lap from him, really nicely through 130R, hugging the inside. A little bit of correction to get himself aligned for the Casio triangle, the entrance at turn 16. But the final corner, fairly simple one, makes it look easy, and it's only good for P12, a 130 flat from him just behind Wisp there. And that's on the soft. So time to find for IDJ.
Clean run from him. But as you said, time to find Kai. Looking for a lap. Coming through the... Well, he had a big issue coming through the first and second Degner here. No front wing on that car, so that would definitely do it. Blind pushing in the Red Bull.
Yeah, just started the lap coming out of the S's and now through the Dunlop curve. And again, like we said, disappointing to see no special livery on that Red Bull. The striking red and white, of course, that would match up perfectly to this track as it was intended to be used. But obviously we'll see that one again tomorrow in real life. For everything going well on this lap for the Red Bull driver. No time set on the board. And there's 6 drivers yet to post a lap time. And you could sort of lump Gabox in there as well, with his time really being unrepresentative after that spin through Dunlop. But he did wrap that lap out, and see what he can do. Maybe on the softs potentially at some point, but he's still out on the mediums right now. Blind through the Casio triangle. IDJ there, parked on my screen. It looks like he's trying to get his way back in as the Red Bull. Well, Blind went 12th fastest. There comes Krill to the line. We'll see what he's capable of. So 127.8 is not going to be there, but it is a 128.8. So the second off pole, but P5, a nice time for the Williams.
Very solid run there. Very solid run. Yar on the move. Someone else just pushed through there. That was the Ferrari of Cozy. P3 in front of Mikal. I think Brownie just pushed in turn 1.
Carter Lundy as well. He's flying through the final sector. A lot of yellow flags up on the track map, but I think that's mostly just people getting out of the way for fast movers. Aston Martin of Carter coming through the final corner. DRS to the line. What's it going to be? It's P6, so 128.812. So Solus filling in between that very small gap between Tuptus and Krill, and the 2 AlphaTauris ahead of him here. Very nicely done from them. The AlphaTauris, the Aston Martins, and the Williams as well. Well, not too much, but the Aston Martins and the AlphaTauris certainly doing very nicely.
Tuptus jumps in front of Cozy. A 38, excuse me, a 28. My eyes are deceiving me. 4.32 coming out of the AlphaTauri. Very solid run there. Brownie invalidated, unfortunately, in the McLaren. And I do believe that was 4-door sedan improving. 29.490 for him, 12th position.
Yeah, Richie found improvement as well, less than a 10th, but does nothing really to get any ground back on Vexit, who was still sitting almost half a second clear as Catalundi goes around all I believe is his in lap, just spun it over the hairpin.
Well, it's a long race
the
coming. That's the last thing you want to be doing, and as we say it, Cotters, he drops the car and spins coming through the S's.
Yeah, just gonna get that car.
Sorry to interrupt you there. E2 for the Alfa Romeo. He pushed through and saw the spin.
Yeah, very, very nicely done from him. And the two Ferraris as well now sit comfortably inside the top 10 too. So there's a few teams doing very, very nicely here. As Alex Bitto looks like he's chaining runs here. He did go faster on that lap time. It would have only moved him up a couple of places, but he's not going to push again, it would seem. Yet still in P10. There's an Alfa Romeo off here. Who is that? It's IDJ off after turn 2.
Unfortunate for him. It's not where you want to end up on your flyer, and maybe he'll have enough fuel to go again. Oh, he's unfortunately dropped it again. Just coming up through with the hot tires.
Yeah, always tricky to manage that when you've, spun it in here. Some of the traction zones really, really difficult. The hairpin in particular, if you've got hot tires, they're so hard to get the car under control. Kai, his first lap time of the day, splits the two Ferraris at 128.557, just ahead of Cozy and just behind Juan Lu. Two Ferraris, they were separated by half a tenth. They're now separated by a Mercedes as well.
Check out in the AlphaTauri, he's pushing through the Degner. Now, through under the bridge to the hairpin. Yeah, big fan of this circuit. We'll have to see what he can do. Currently P8. Out of Spoon now, pushing with everything he can. Might even be getting ready to go again here. Or on the way in.
I think it might be an in-lap, and it is, as he slots his way back into the pits. I think Blind is flying in the Red Bull, not pushing too hard through the S's, staying clear of that throttle pedal, and maybe that was why, as he comes off through the Dunlop curve and slides into the barrier. He's not out. I didn't see any damage on that Red Bull, but I can't get a view of the front wing.
Potters pushes 12th position, and very unfortunate to find Blind in the wall there outside of Dunlop. Still recovering.
Oh, Blind goes again, and just what we were mentioning about those hot tires, mixed with the gravel, really not helping some of these drivers who are struggling. Someone we saw have a problem earlier, Gabox, he's flying again in the Haas. This time on the softs. We saw him spin off through Dunlop on the mediums. This time he's got through there successfully. He's now flying up towards the hairpin. And even the track shift, it's just covered in trails of gravel where people have been struggling to keep it between the white lines and have gone on little misadventures to the outer bounds of the track. Coming through Spoon now. The Haas, very nicely done. Definitely to be a bit braver, but at this stage of qualifying, I think he just wants to get a time on the board that's a little bit more competitive than what he's got right now.
Well, it's a very competitive grid right now, and when you look at the front end, you take away Vexit, everyone extremely tight. Gabox right now, no battery in utilization, might just be starting this run here.
Yeah, he's starting there on the left, and that's where you'd want to start a flying lap. My sector timer in the top right was telling me that lap took him nearly 6 minutes, which, given the length of the session, I find very, very unlikely.
Brownie pushing. Exit also pushing. Going to be a competitive shootout for this pole position, I do believe. If anyone has something for Vexit, But if Exit has an improvement in hand here, we're about to find out once he comes out of Spoon.
There are yellow flags and up and down the track, and that does make it difficult to see how long is left, but it pops up for a brief moment here, half a minute. So this will be pretty much the last run for everyone. You might get the odd three who have time to get across the line and start a flyer. Siffy, a bit pressed for time, should make it in just in time, but here comes Vector. It's a huge improvement from him. It's a 127.5. Richie's already gone sub 128, but I don't think he's got anything in him. He doesn't. He's not going again at all. There's a 127.9, so it's 4/10 clear over the top for Vexit. Candy King, well, he is flying. He's found a small improvement. He needs to find a bit more if he wants Richie. I think Vexit is out of reach for the Alfa Romeo, but can Candy King find Jeffrey Richie and put himself alongside Vexit on the front row? One Lou, I think he's done. He's settled for a 128.356. Tuptus, he's flying. Brownie flying as well, I believe, as well as Kai. So plenty of people with the opportunity. Candy King improves. It's a 128 flat, just narrowly avoiding beating Jeffrey Richie's time, but Richie will stay in P2. Tuptus to the line. What's he got? 1,000ths of a second. Call him
Brownie,
consistent.
He went P6 there. I don't think he is flying any longer. Mikau coming to the line. The AlphaTauri driver goes fourth quickest here. 28.316. He finds 4/10 on that run. Very solid. Kai pushes in front of him. 28.272.
I think that just about wraps up qualifying. I think the last few drivers just coming into the pit lane. I don't think Brownie is on for an improvement, at least judging by my sector times. He might even be out of fuel. Well, it doesn't look like it the way he accelerated, but he is into the pit lane.
What a session. I think it took a few laps for a few of these guys to really get up to where they wanted to be, and maybe too little too late for some. But the front end of this grid looking very tight.
Yeah, I mean, Vexit, I mentioned before the race began on the broadcast that talking to some of the drivers, Vexit certainly came up as a name who loves this track, and well, the way he's conducted himself here in qualifying with a 4/10 gap over Jeffrey Ritchie, who we know, Striff, is an unbelievably quick driver over there in an Aston Martin. That is a real statement to put down. And Candy King up there as well. He's not far behind Ritchie. Then you've got Kai, Mikau, Wanlu, Tuptus, Brownie, all very, very nice lap times there in that 128 low range. And then this battle we had for sort of the 128.8s. Got Carter Lundy, Krill, Gabox, Alex Biddo, Codders, all well within, a tenth or two of one another. So I think we're going to see what we have sort of become accustomed to in this game, where we get pockets of drivers here, there, and everywhere. And that usually means constant battling between those little groups that you get. But obviously, weather, safety cars, all of that could come into play here. In the race, it'll be 53 laps around the iconic Suzuka. And well, this is where tomorrow's race was planned to be held, but of course, the real life challenges that the world's facing has meant that it's gone to Turkey instead. And well, there's a challenge for our drivers, Striff. Definitely enters, but the track is a lot wetter than it was in qualifying, and it's a very, very cloudy in the sky here in Japan.
Oh, most definitely. You absolutely love to see a little bit of a change in conditions for these racers. As you said, a true challenge. And well, Suzuka turn one, it's going to be slick. And well, there's a little bit of runoff there, but if you run off just too much, you're going to find yourself in some gravel. We'll have to see how these drivers fare on formation lap. Everyone maybe going to take a chance to test the conditions on formation. We've seen it before, but rain, well, we'll have to see how long the rain's here. If we see dry, Suzuka. Here we go on formation lap. Take us through the lineup for Unicorn.
Well, we don't have to go through tires. That's one thing to make our lives a bit easier. But on pole, Vexit, after a monstrous performance in qualifying, the Alpine sits alongside Jeffrey Ritchie in P2. Then Candy King, who qualified close to the Aston Martin, starts third with Kai alongside him. Mikau starts in one of two AlphaTauris in the top 10. One Lu in the Ferrari also is a pair in the top 10. Tupta starts in the other AlphaTauri with Brownie alongside him in 8th. Cozy starts with the other Ferrari, and then the other Aston Martin makes the third of 3 teams with both drivers in the top 10. A little bit of slide as well as he exits the S's. Then outside of the top 10, what would have been 3 tyre choices, Krill, as I was about to mention his name, he spun round coming into the Dunlop curve, and I think made contact with the inside wall. I don't think there's damage though, as Ford Sedan and Blind get disqualified from the session. So already problems starting to arrive. Both Hasses, Gavox and Alex Bitto start 12th and 13th respectively. Codders starts 14th in the Alpine. Wisp starts 15th in the Red Bull. Codders missing the braking point into the hairpin. IDJ, well, he's facing the wrong way as well, Stro. He starts 16th with Siffy in 17th. Ford Sedan and Blind, well, they've just been sent back to the grid along with IDJ as they've been disqualified from the formation lap for whatever reason. And then Yar, well, he's into the gravel trap in the Mercedes, but he rounds out our 20 drivers here tonight, and everyone on the intermediate tire, of course, given the conditions that we have here in Suzuka.
Well, we said the formation lap was going to be a serious test for some of these racers to really see how they adjust to the conditions, and well, safe to say some drivers struggling right now early on. Vexit, Ritchie, 2 drivers we have seen go head to head and fight it out. We saw a major battle between these two in Monza, if I remember correctly, and well, they're back to fight it out once again. Vexit, Ritchie, Candy King very tight to the rear of them, and Kai also in the Mercedes. We know Mikau, very capable driver. We'll have to see how he fares in the wets as he makes out the top 5. But it is, of course, time with Yar now and the Williams of Krill to take their positions on this racing grid. Unicorn, of course, I'll have you give us the honor of taking us away racing here in Japan.
Well, thank you, Striff. I think everyone now, as they all shuffle into position in their grid boxes, but we're waiting for the liking sequence. There it is, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here on in Suzuka. Codders drive through penalty for a jump start. Jeffrey Ritchie gets away nicely. Can he challenge Vexit into turn 1? He's going to challenge him before turn 1. They're side by side on the pit exit, and it's the Aston Martin in the lead ahead of the Alpine. Behind them, Candy King defends from the Mercedes of Kai. They're side by side. The AlphaTauris meet as Mikau is still in 5th, but Tuptas is past 1 Lu for 6th. Then behind them, Brownie, Carter Lundy going side by side behind 1 Lu. And it's Brownie right now looking to lose out a position, but Carter Lundy's still there on the inside, but around the outside for the Dunlop curve. Can he hold it? He's on the curve. He gets a little bit slippery and drops back behind the McLaren, who holds P8. Then behind him, Gabox, well, he's up to shaky into the first Degnar, but he is ahead of Cozy, who's down 2, and Whisper's up 3 behind them, 12th place. Alex Biddo's held on. Yar, what a start for the Mercedes. He's up 6 places. Codders has dropped despite the jump start. Then Siffy is up 1. Krill down 6. IDJ down 2. Blind holds 9th, and Ford Sedan is down 2 into 20th, but no huge incidents on the opening lap. The wet weather preventing any daring moves that you might see people try in the dry, but definitely struggling in these slippery conditions. We don't know if it's going to dry up, so people might be using setups tailored more towards dry weather, or maybe just because they wanted to be doing well in qualifying. Carter Lundy looking to pressure Brownie into the Cassia triangle as everyone runs wide through 130R. The Aston Martin looked for a lunge at the inside, doesn't go for it, but what an opening lap that was.
Lap 1 done and dusted for these racers now. Jeffrey Ritchie pushing through, of course, in lead of things, claiming fastest lap so far in this campaign, and Carter Lundy, I think he has been the driver pushing the most in this lap. He's still pushing on the rear of Brownie. And it's a very, very serious battle to watch out for on the tail end of these points paying positions. You can see some of the speed that Carter was able to pull up to Brownie there. Gabox, the whole train is in formation. This grid extraordinarily tight. We're in very slick conditions. We haven't even seen the dynamics that this race has yet to give us. Of course, we have dry weather on the way, according to the chat. We now have a yellow flag through turn 1. That is, I do believe, Carter's. He's just making it back out now. Back to Carter, though, within 3/10 on Brownie. Brownie doing his own work, trying to hold with the Ferrari of Juan Liu. Meanwhile...
And I've been on...
Oh, go ahead.
I've been on board with Carter, and he's just been shaking around, not looking comfortable in the cockpit of the Aston Martin, but he has been sticking well with Brownie, and like you said, the Ferrari ahead is putting pressure on Tuptus, this sort of 4-car train. It's a battle we're going to see emerge, I think, but Brownie now starting to struggle to keep up, and Carter really pushed into the run down into 130 on last. I think Brownie has sort of been very aware of that fact, and he's pushing a little bit too, but he needs to be careful here, this Aston Martin. And Carter is already at one place, hungry for more. Almost got Brownie on the opening lap as we've got a retirement. Yar is out, as there is also...
There's another driver involved. Yeah, there was another driver. There's no front wing on that Williams, and we have, ladies and gentlemen, well, George, we have our first safety car of the evening.
No, I didn't see where the Mercedes went. It got dispatched off very quickly. The Williams of Krill was off the inside of 130R, so maybe side by side through there. Just been misjudged a little bit, but Yar, our first retirement on just lap 2 of the race.
Very unfortunate circumstance. Find yourself out of a race that early on, no doubt.
Debris went flying, but again, I did not see that car. It was removed very, very quickly from the circuit. So a little bit surprising there. This will... Well, there's our DJ drive-through penalty for being under the safety car. I think Cotter's... He served his at the end of lap 1, so he is not going to be in any fear of, missing that penalty.
That is a tough one. Drive-through penalty in any circumstance.
Safety car for Cotter sort of negates his. He's down 2 places, of course. He's going to get one back from DJ. And as such, well, a drive-through penalty costing you 1 position early on. Well, I think you could take that, on the chin and wouldn't be too disappointed about it.
The factor is that you can't serve those under safety car conditions, so IDJ will have to wait until we get back to green flag racing before he is able to come into the pit lane and serve that. Going to drop him back significantly.
Absolutely, and obviously plenty of time left in this race, and for him that's crucial because late race as Tuptus comes into the pits. Was there a problem for the AlphaTauri, or is this a decision? It looks like
this is strategical.
From where I'm sitting.
Oh my,
it's
that's
soft.
oh my. That's a real bold call. That's a beyond bold
that has to be a mistake, surely. There's no way he thinks this track is going to dry. It's still raining here in Suzuka.
That is beyond bold. I am bewildered right now.
So I reckon he's going to spin on this outlap here because there's no way those tyres have got any grip in these conditions. He's going to have to trundle around, and the safety car is not going to last so much longer. Obviously, there's still a few drivers behind him, but I don't understand this call at all.
Well, of course, he may have different information to us, and the information we have was that the rain's going to be a little while longer yet, at least. And, well, you can see the clouds and things starting to disperse. But to be ready for soft compound tires already, this is a very, very interesting and bold call from the AlphaTauri. And I'm very curious to see how it works out. Of course, and Peptus, a very fast, capable driver. But he is struggling on these tires just in catching up with these drivers under safety car conditions.
Yeah, I can understand what he's gone for here with this sort of idea. I can see what the thought process would be, but it's still raining here. If it wasn't still raining, then I could consider, why he's done that. He's having to stay on the track so Cottas doesn't get an excuse to pass him under the safety car. Of course, if Peptus loses the car a little bit, it goes into the grass. Cottas is going to be allowed to overtake him here if he's off the track by enough of a margin, but Peptus really has to slow down to make sure he makes all of these corners. And the rain definitely letting off. It might have even just stopped as we speak, but so maybe there is hope for him that the track dries out in this one lap, as Mikkel's coming in as well. Carter too. It's just bold. I think this lap
rain has stopped.
This is definitely the safer option, and maybe there is some method to the madness here, but the track's still slippery.
Wow, what a race. The strategy shakeup here is massive. Peptus, Mikkel, Carter Lundy. Otters came in, but hit it inners.
Now that is a mistake. I think just staying out on your current tire is, where you should be at. If you're on the intermediate, if you're going to pit, at least take the gamble for the slick compounds, and it's not going to be long. I just don't know where the next lap is the lap. It depends. How much time do they lose? How much time, compared to the full pit stop everyone else? Obviously, they've done the pit stop under the safety car, so there is, some time there gained. So if this is the last lap, lap 6 is the last lap under intermediate conditions, then this could be a brilliant strategy. As Alex Bitto is off, coming through the hairpin, and it's not the first time Alex has been off here at Suzuka. He's almost cursed Striff around this circuit, and he will not be happy to have spun, especially under safety car conditions. But the Haas drops to 16th place.
That's tough. That's a tough one for sure. And the safety car, no doubt, going to be coming in here as soon as we cross the split, and let's see if those lights go out.
Well, they haven't gone out yet.
Well, this is...
Well, there it is.
This is interesting. Now, does Richie come straight in here?
I don't think so. If you're going to stay out, I think you would have...
Yeah, I guess it's...
come in at this point.
Well, there's no rain. Circuit. He's caught. Vegs it well. Candy King on the rear. We've got a little bit of exchanging, as you can see the order changing with the pit stops coming through.
I don't know what's happened to Toptus, but his car is stopped on the start finish straight. It's going again now.
No front right end plate on it either.
A little bit bizarre there for him as battles continue all throughout the field, but not too much in the way of exchanging again. Suzuka, especially Sector 1, not the easiest place to overtake, and well, you combine that with the weather conditions we're seeing here, as I think Blind might have crashed on exit of the pits, and well, if that's not an indication that the slicks aren't the right tires, he spins again here in the Red Bull. He's really struggling. Yeah, this gamble to go onto the slick tires, definitely not the right one. Mick out, dropping back quite substantially. It won't be long, but I think give it another lap or two at least until we see the leaders come in.
Well, if you can maintain yourself well on those tires and they come alive, then you'll be okay, but Blind right now struggling dearly to the point where he's cooking them. And that's not going to be good even remotely. Well, Richie continuing his lead over pole sitter Vexit here.
Vexit's done well here to catch back up on this first lap after the safety car restart, because he did get a little bit, taken by surprise. It would seem with Jeffrey's restart, but oh my goodness, wide for the Aston Martin. The Alpine sneaks up the inside, and he's still side by side here with Richie, but just keeping it there, not letting off. Bravery unstaggered. Oh, and Richie's gone round, and Candy King just about avoids him. But my goodness, that was so close to being not one, but two races dropping down the order. Richie, he's still trying to get overtaken here as Williams and Krill looks to go past, but Bitto snuck through.
Bitto took the pair of them. I can't believe he made it and got that through.
I don't know why Krill didn't overtake. He looked like he had the opportunity, but by the time he thought about it, Bitto had already closed the door by forcing Richie a little bit over. So Bitto, very nicely done there, opportunistic-wise. Vexit still under pressure here. This time it's from Candy King, but what a move that was as Katalundi gets DJ coming through the Degnar. And well, is this the switch over, as it looks like the slicks might now be a little bit quicker? Krill and four-door sedan. Williams versus Williams, and well, Krill nearly slides it in the opening of Spoon.
Brownie and Wanlu so tight between this pair, and we've got, of course, Vexit and Candykin continuing their battle as Brownie looking for a way around the outside right now, back through on the inside of the Casio triangle. A little bit of a drift there for the McLaren. Oh, that was so tight. Brownie gets it into the pit lane in formation behind everybody now coming into this pit lane. DRS enabled.
Yeah, always a great sign. And well, where do Kai, Mikau fare in all of this? The leaders, they've already pitted. Alex Bitto takes lead of the race because he stayed out another lap. This is a gamble. I think it's a bad one. But here we go. Mikau climbing back through the ranks as he overtakes Kai whilst all these cars are exiting the pit lane. There's a lot of traffic, but Mikau gets fifth. His rival, who he was just wheel to wheel with, down in seventh as Brownie slots in between the pair of them. And Mikau, well, what a strategic call from the AlphaTauri. Obviously, Tuptus not here to capitalize, but the Australian of Mikau right now up into the top five. You can make it top four because Alex Bitto, well, surely he's now going to get caught rapidly. The track now a lot drier than it was a moment ago. And when I said again, Mikau absolutely staggering, not only on the strategy, but that overtake as well. Full points for bravery because Brownie was right there alongside him exiting the pit lane as well.
Man, is it ever tight in this grid after all these pit stops have started to come through, and you can be sure that Alex Bitto will land somewhere to fight. Right now, Vexit, Candy King, wheel to wheel into Spoon. There goes Vexit on the inside. He gets that move done on the Alfa Romeo, and he is pushing on the softs. What a difference in strategy we're seeing on these dries as well. It's a 100% distance campaign, and you absolutely love to see it. Now we have a yellow popping up. That is in turn one. That is blind off circuit here. And it looks like there's been a penalty handed to Tuptus for a severe collision.
Oh, and Gabox is around. Just where we saw Yar retire. Nice driver. Struggling to get it through the Casio triangle. No damage, though. Into the pits. But regardless, four-door IDJ exchange as IDJ comes into the pits as well.
This has been an unbelievably wild race so far, and we're only on lap 9. That weather dynamic change really... Uh-oh. Alex Bitto. Alex is off! And that was so tight with the Aston Martin of Richie. I thought for sure there might have even been a collision there. Fortunately, no one was collected, and Cotters has also had an issue just coming up through Dunlop.
Yeah, I don't know if there was contact with Wisp, but definitely struggling there. In the Alpine, back up to the battle nearer the front of things. Carter Lundy putting on a lot of pressure to Brownie in that McLaren, but Brownie, oh, he's so experienced, he's not going to crack and does not give Carter any sunlight to look up the inside or the outside, and then the Aston Martin gets a little shaky on the exit as Tuptus, I believe that is in the pits. He has been struggling ever since that pit stop under that safety car. Really wasn't the right call for him. His teammate though, Mikkel, did very well. He's on the soft. He has a little look around the outside of one loop into the Casio Triangle as Cotters, well, another yellow flag caused by the Alpine, just gets his car off of the racing line in time as Jeffrey Ritchie comes through. Alex Biddo comes through as well, and Ritchie, I don't know what happened to him, but he's dropped like a stone. One loop. Well, he does finally get a pass by Mikkel. Those sots working out very nicely for the Australian versus the mediums.
Carter Lundy losing time right now, making a few mistakes on his exit from turn 1, and this has really exposed him to the Mercedes of Kai. Cozy, meanwhile, well, in 8th position, 9.3 seconds, nearly the gap for him, as Alex Biddo and Cotters exchange once again. This time,
oh, four-door and Siffy Striff, they've both come off in the S's. I don't know how that happened between the pair of them.
That's very unfortunate, to say the least. Brownie and Carter Lundy now wheel to wheel as we exit the hairpin. Brownie holding, but Carter Lundy getting 5th position, and this has been a battle we've been watching for a while. Carter Lundy very loose, coming through into Spoon right now, wide on exit. Brownie looking to stay tight with him. Carter, he has Brownie up his inside now. He will drop back into 6th as we come through 130R, but Brownie most definitely on notice. We'll have to see what Carter has as we come out of the Casio Triangle. Absolutely. Fronts to rears right now, DRS for the pair. Brownie holding off to that inside, trying to give a good squeeze off to Carter. Comes through later on the brakes into turn 1. Carter tries to extend himself. Big slide. This is where Kai comes in wheel to wheel now as we come through turn 2. Ooh, Kai pulls back in out of that exchange. Very good patience from him.
Yeah, and wheel to wheel battling. You gotta love to see it even in a tricky track like this. Wisp gets past Siffy. And he'll be happy with P9 for the time being in the points, of course. But this battle for P5 really where all our attention lies, because it's so thrilling as Wisp, well, just after he makes an overtake, he will lose the position if it was to finish like this, because he's just picked up 3 seconds time penalties for track limits extensions.
Well, one thing that is major to note here is Brownie's 1.2 and just shy of that 1 second on Wan Lu. Noted, it is the only one section where you have the DRS into turn 1, so maybe he pushes it here. We'll see if he catches him. Just tight. He might have, I think he picks it up. I think he picks up DRS here, which is crucial in his defense against that Aston Martin.
Yeah, it'll really help him in, being less vulnerable into turn 1. He's got a nice gap between him and Carter anyway, and we'll just have to see when the sots die out, because that's when Mikkel's going to come under increasing fire from Wan Lu, who's doing well to stick with the Australian for now in that AlphaTauri. But the DRS pulled the Ferrari towards Mikkel. Didn't help him get past, but definitely helping him retain that gap despite the tire disadvantage.
Wisp under threat here. Siffy, sorry to interrupt there, Unicorn. Siffy on the inside as we come into turn 1. Later on the brakes for the Red Bull. Oh, he holds 9th position. Krill getting involved just barely. Siffy dropping back on the inside of that battle. And this is very intense racing all throughout the grid, as now Krill opens a door for Jeffrey Ritchie. Jeffrey Ritchie now looking around the outside of Dunlop, the Aston Martin. Does he find the grip? This is wild racing here. Softs versus mediums, and that is going to be Ritchie pushing through out in front just before the Degner. Wow.
Yeah, and Krill, well, he's kind of unlucky there. He had to take evasive action to avoid Wisp and Siffy, because Siffy looked like he might spin round out of turn 2. Didn't manage to save it. Very nicely done from him, but Krill really had to slam on the anchors and to avoid a crash. And you love to see that sort of reservation for a driver. Doesn't try and push through when it might cause a problem, but the long race, need to stay in it to get any chance of points. But like you said, open the door to Richie. Richie's not going to ask twice. He is going to come straight through. And the Aston Martin snaps up 11th place, and I don't think it'll be too long until we see it back in the points. There's a yellow flag, and I'm not quite sure what that's for. Potentially a retirement in the pits for blind.
Carter Lundy, Kai exchanging right now into turn 1. Huge position right now for this Mercedes to finally get it through on the fresher rubber.
Tiffy and Wist, the battle continues for 9th place, and it's the McLaren ahead once again, but he runs wide out of turn 1. Now side by side through turn 2. It's McLaren versus Rebel, and Wisp later on the brakes into the S's. That's a beautiful move, but Tiffy right there with him. Sneaks back up the inside, then completely makes a huge error off into the gravel, into the wall for the McLaren. That is a huge mistake. Now Richie starts putting under pressure the Red Bull. Was there contact between the Aston Martin and the McLaren? I'm not sure. I don't think there was. But either way, Siffy will not be happy. Here goes Richie. A brilliant drive out of the second. Degnar up into the hairpin. He's on the outside, though. Does he get the drive? Does he get the traction on the exit that he needs? No, he doesn't. Wisp right there. This is the inside for turn 2. Though. Does Richie have the run? No, he doesn't. He doesn't have the battery either compared to Wisp. And Wisp holds on to 9th for now. Well, that is an unbelievable bit of battling as Siffy drops another place. I think he's still struggling with hot tires with gravel on them.
Oh my! No! No! Krill was in that fight, and I cannot believe it, but the moment... Oh, what a crash for him. Coming out of Spoon. That was major. That was massive, and we have our second safety car of the evening. Holy. That was a massive crash. Holy. Looked like he just cooked it coming out of the exit. Now we've had another issue. No. DJ is out, and I don't know what's happened, but his car is just where Krill's is.
I was about to say, he's crashed in the same place by the looks of it, and like you said, massive crash for Krill, you know, no front wing, and obviously the broken suspension to boot too, but I wonder what's happened there, considering that DJ has crashed under the safety car and Vex at the leader. He'll come through this corner, and Renette Cordes is through there right now, and it's an Alpine. At the front of the grid, it's an Alpine. At the back of the grid too, but you know, Vex it makes it through fine. There's no debris, there's no cars left there. The marshals working nice and quickly to get all of that out of the way. But as it stands, we've got Vexed and leader things. This is soft tires. They'll still be fine for now, of course, but they will die off earlier. And, well, he's going to get them changed, it would seem. I imagine Mikau will follow suit as well, if that is the play from Vexit. Candy King staying out. Mikau is in. One Lu gonna follow, and it's a 3-second time penalty he's got. So this is just strategic. Carter-Lundy as well. Well, Carter-Lundy almost hitting the pit wall on entrance here. Very, very bizarre. And he's going for a wing change. Was this planned, or did he just lose the end plate on the entrance to the pit lane here? Either way, not ideal for him. So it wasn't a penalty he wanted to remove. It was a broken front wing. But as we wait for those pit lane goers to exit and see where they land in the order, it's Candy King leading things, and he's up 2 places from where he started. Brownie, what a race he's having. He's up 6 places. Kai's up 1. Cozy's up 5. And Vector down 4. Mikau 1. Lu both down 1. Wisp up 7 places. And considering the amount of battling he's had in that Red Bull, he'll be very, very happy with that. He's on 8-lap-old medium, so he'll struggle to go forward with the cars he's got ahead. But he shouldn't be too badly affected from those behind, at least not initially on the restart anyway. Of course, provided he gets a good launch. Ford or Sedan, he's up 9 places where he started. Carter-Lundy holding station in 10th, our final points paying position, as Alex Bitto, he's up 2. His teammate right behind him has held on to P12. Jeffrey Ritchie down 11 places, has not been going his way at all. He's just coming for fresh mediums as well, as have Siffy and Coddas behind him. Tiffy up 3, Codders down 1 from where they started as well. And everyone now on the medium tyre, varying ages across the board, but they are all on the yellow rimmed compound. And well, I think we'll probably go round again here, given how far Siffy Codders are behind, and even the likes of Gabox and Richie, they're not caught up to the queue yet either by any stretch of the imagination, and won't be before Casio Triangle.
There's been such a dynamic race already, and we've only seen 15 laps, few under safety car, but a lot of position changes. Candy King and Brownie right now, first and second position, with Kai in third. So much tire difference in strategy as well. Everyone on the mediums, as you said. Cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait to get all of this racing action back to green flag racing. And well, you can see there in front of Candy King, the Aston Martin safety car. Very a lovely safety car sight to see. And quite a bit of the red one, given the league racing action of the MRL. And well, now we have a little bit of variety. So that's great to see, and we've seen it twice already in this race. Of course, get your predictions in now for how many racers you may think finish this one. We've got 15 left to choose from.
Yeah, and well, lap 16, still a fair way to go in this one. You know, almost a third of the way through, but not quite there yet. And with that in mind, it really puts into perspective how long of a race these endurance races are typically. And the drivers, again, we mention it a lot when we get to these sort of stages where you're under a safety car, but you just get pulled out of that rhythm that they were building up, especially if you weren't fighting anyone. And even if you were fighting someone, just be taken out of that. That could be going nicely for you now. You've been ripped out of it. You've got to get back in that mindset when the situation arises again, and it does play a role. Candy King needs a good safety car restart here. Hopefully it comes in this lap. I know Biffy and Codders aren't quite at the back of the train, but they will be very shortly. Still not coming in though.
If it does now, it'd be the latest call we've seen thus far.
It looks like it's going around again. And it is. Not what anyone wanted to see, I don't think, with the exception of maybe Codders.
DJ coming into the chat to say that his PC actually shut off. Well, that is a big, big unfortunate scenario. $17 out of 53 safety car conditions. We have 5 drivers holding on to 3-second time penalties right now. Juan Lu, Wisp, Alex, Bido, Gabox, and Siffy. Fortunately, they hold on to 3-second time penalties, as you cannot shave them off in the pit lane serving pit stops or anything like this, as you can with the 5-second time penalties. So when you get safety cars, especially towards the later stage of a race, it's tough. It's tough because you can drop position, not able to pull as much of a gap.
Yeah, and it means, that at the end of the race you get a late safety car. It's going to really hurt. And the more you have, obviously, the worse it gets. And we've seen it time and time again when penalties play such a crucial role. And I doubt tonight will be much different from that, provided that all the factors lean towards, obviously, if you get a very spaced out race, which we haven't had so far. There's been battling all throughout, but that's when you can kind of get away with it. But safety car finally getting called in nice and early at the timing line between sectors 2 and 3, and Candy King will take us away. And Richie got a great start last time. Will Candy King do the same? Yeah, really great capitalization there on a poor start. Cartalundi, Fordor Sedan, they come together as they go side by side, and Fordor is out. They just touched the wheels. Fordor lost the car, slams into the wall, and I think Wisp has had a problem as well. He's facing the wrong way. Cozy's had a problem as well. He's come off on the inside of the Dunlop curve. The end plate on that Ferrari missing, and he just runs it over as well. Here comes Wisp coming through, and he gets one position back there, but my, oh my, not a great restart for a couple of individuals there. Fordor Sedan obviously now out of the race. Doesn't get a safety car for it, though, and that will annoy Wisp and Cozy, who could really do with one right about now.
That was wild. That was a wild race start. Wisp and Cozy really not going to be happy about that. Fordor most definitely going to be frustrated. Everything tight right now through the top 5. Wanlu, a little bit of separation behind him. More separation with Carter, and then Bido with a bit of a train behind him. Literally looking at Gabox.
Yeah, Brownie's got a nice little gap there behind him.
Lundy. Well, he turns it around as well, George.
Yeah, we're seeing more spins here than in the wet, but here goes Vexit on the inside of the Mercedes car, both trying to outbrake the other, but Vexit, a beautiful move on the inside there, and again, showing how much he loves this track. He knew exactly where to position that Alpine and gets it done on the inside of 1 and 2, but I used to Cartalundi off. That will hurt his chances at scoring points here, with Wisp now just ahead of him.
Beautiful race now. Coming into the hairpin, Brownie, Candy King, Vexit, Kai, Mikyao, all in formation. Wanlu doing what he can in that Ferrari to hold tight.
And again, Suzuka, not the easiest track to overtake on, as Brownie goes a little wide there coming through Spoon, but I don't think it's going to ease into his lead too much. In fact, he might have got a warning for it. He's actually gaining time, I think, as a result of the exit. And speaking of some of the rise of the exit, Vexit flies straight by Candy King. Used a lot of his battery to do so. And has it been all in vain? Is Candy King going to find a way through on the Cassia Triangle? No, he's not. But the Alpine does slot himself up into P2. Wisp, Cartalundi, they exchange into 130R, but the Aston Martin goes wide. They're still side by side. Later on the brakes of the Red Bull. Carter's still there on the inside of 16 as they come through 17. He looks at the switchback, doesn't find it, but he will get DRS here, I think. Actually, hasn't been re-enabled since the safety car, but here he is. He's still side by side, doesn't need DRS. He's pushing with a lot of battery, though, around the outside into turn 1. Doesn't find it. Wisp's lost the rear a little bit, slides wide, goes off, and that's an unfair penalty for him. You've got to say, I don't think he gained any time by doing that.
Oh, Carter.
Oh, Cartalundi.
Oh, well, all that fighting for what? And that's just not what you want to be doing. Jeffrey Ritchie now pushing through his teammate. Oh, he's going to have to take a moment, and he's going to have to find his way on some hot tires after that as well.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate to see that one come crashing down, and it's a great little battle between the two, but we are seeing that a couple of drivers, whether it's pressure with having another car side by side there, I think it does, it does play on your nerves, Jeff. Obviously, you and I, we both raced around here, multiple times. When you got someone going in behind you into the S's or side by side, it is tricky. It is nerve-wracking because it's so, unfavorable to have that car anywhere near through the S. It's one mistake and it's contact. So I think that's just catching a few people out here tonight. Confidence not high amongst some of the drivers, and well, it get lower every time you have a problem through there. So
Yeah,
they will
definitely.
be sort of upset about it. One person, there's one situation I think we need to touch on. The tires, they're all on mediums, but the age now between, you know, Vexit, Mikau, and Wanlu, all on 5-lap-old tires. As there's a yellow flag, it's Kai. He's
Could be
spun.
tricky. Oh, he's a big rolling roadblock right now for the Haas drivers. Ooh, a big snap. He's going to drop even further now. Not taking enough time to get recovered properly there, I think, has cost him even more than what he might have lost in the end.
Yeah, Siffy got thrown Gabox as well into Degnar 1 as a result, as they were all sort of jostling for position, and he might even get both asses here. Had a little look on the inside of Alex there, but yeah, for Kai, just got on the track, and then he was trying to get out of the way of Alex Biddo. The rear span up because they had no grip, the gravel, the heat. He almost lost the car again, and he had to just sort of get out of the way. Snatched it a bit, you know, turning right in a left-hander. Doesn't usually work out too well, and as such, he's just gone off the track there. Very, very unfortunate for him. Go back to the tyre situation, though. Vexit.
Alex Biddo right now. I think Siffy's charging a move here. Up the inside of the Casio triangle. A little bit of contact. There is contact, and that is going to bring the McLaren round. Oh, that's not what you want to have in your race. Exit still tight with Brownie.
And I think the fresher tyres, they will play a role in this fight for leader things.
Tough.
But at the moment, Brownie holding on very, very nicely. You know, comparatively, considering the tyre differences, there's a yellow flag. I think that might have been Siffy in the McLaren. His teammate doing very, very well. But no damage visible.
Well, one thing to note, this week we saw Brownie drive an entire Silverstone race on the same set of tires. In the end, he was waiting for a safety car. The safety car never came, so he went to the last possible lap, and he brought it into the pit lane just for kicks. And the strategy didn't pay off. So if he has that tire management prowess, which we know him to have, he might be in for a very good position here overall on these guys behind him, although Vexit, a very quick and capable driver. Carter Lundy.
Oh, big crash for Kotterstriff. I'm amazed he's still in this race. No front wing on the Alpine, but he came flying off out of Spoon, smacked into the wall and went for a nice double spin there. And well, no front wing now means he'll be limping back to the pit lane. Richie as well. Going to get past Wisp here nice and easily. DRS to the aid there, and how's he crashed? I don't know if he's crashed into the pit lane.
Oh, yeah,
He's out of this race.
He did. He did.
I'm amazed that's not a safety car, to be honest. He's right in the middle of the track as Siffy speeds into the pit lane. And this is for a front wing change and to go on to some soft. So shakes up the tyres that we've got on the grid, but he is a long way behind pretty much everyone else on track.
Ronnie, Vexit, Candy King, Mikau holding well, 1 through 4, and then that train behind Biddo. 3 cars right now. Gabox, his teammate being one of them, Kai being the other, and of course Kai, no penalties.
And that's going to help him, you know. Like we said, especially if there's a late safety car and he gets bunched up to where, you know, Wanlu as well, who's dropping off the back of the front 4 now. Well, there hasn't been much exchanging up there, but again, tyres will make that the case. As there's a yellow flag. Who is this for? They're actually not quite sure.
Ditto Gabox right now. Wheel to wheel fighting. The Haas drivers. Bitto a little bit of a slip. This is going to really allow Gabox to push through. Carter Lundy crashing now. Crashing up in front of these two. Out of the S's.
Yeah, and that of course means no one would take it for the yellow flag zone. So even if he wanted to, Alex Bitto couldn't have really launched any attacks back on his teammate to try and find a way through. But unfortunate for Carter Lundy there. And, well, on fresh softs as well, he becomes the 8th retirement in tonight's race. Alex Bitto goes very late on the brakes into the heaven, goes deep. Does that open the door for Kai? No, it doesn't. But that's not going to help his case at all.
Kite racing all over this grid right now. 1 through 4. Juan Lu still catching, as I say it, Bitto. Oh, he slips and Kai gets him.
And, well, he's starting to make a few mistakes as there's a problem for Siffy, it would seem, in the McLaren. No damage, but yellow flag regardless. But going back to Alex, yeah, definitely slipping up. He doesn't like this track too much. We've always seen him have problems here, but he might be able to get a move done despite the fact that they both have DRS. Alex burning that battery away, goes around the outside. It's still one. Kai clips the curb on the inside and amazingly doesn't spin the car. A great bit of driving to keep that point in the right direction. Still struggling to keep it under control, but does so brilliantly. And Kai, well, he stays ahead of Richie. Obviously loses out 3-4 seconds on time, but could have been a lot worse. A brilliant save to hold that car on the grass. Really knew how to control it, and control it he did. Beautiful bit of driving from the Mercedes. He is now under pressure from Richie behind, but a superb save from Kai.
Yeah, very good save there. That was almost race over for him, I feel. Richie really holding within that 1 second range. Of course, there's a big tire differential between the pair. Mikal within half a second of Candy King. Got Bitto holding within a second of his teammate. Wisp picks up a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. And that is, well, that is not what you want to do. That brings him to 9 seconds in this campaign. We're just about at that halfway point.
Yeah, and it's really not helpful to have 9 seconds, and he's on the borderline, of course, of scoring points, and right now it wouldn't drop him. So the Ferrari, as Mikkel goes around, the Australian loses it. One Lou has to go to the grass to avoid him, and it was just a simple loss of traction for the AlphaTauri, and that's just after 10 laps. So it's not the tires that are the problem, maybe a lapse in concentration. And at this stage of the race, the halfway point, that is not what you want. He drops a huge amount of time to the top 4. He's lost about 10 seconds with that mistake, if not more. And he will be kicking himself.
Jeffrey Ritchie, Kai in their exchange, of course. Jeffrey into 8th. Separation really starting to form with the tire strategies. And Mikal, just one of those members who falls into this top 10 with a bit of separation both ways. No penalties, but it's this top 3 now who are really fighting.
And speaking of people with penalties, Wisp just had a problem. He lost it coming out of the second Degnar, so that gap that he did have comes crashing down, and it's no longer as comfortable as it was. It's a lot closer to that 9-second window. It's still 15, but with half the race to go, 6 seconds, definitely closable.
Ditto under threat right now from Richie. Kai also there, and it just might very, very serious exchange between these racers right now. Richie threw on Bitto. Kai's looking forward as well.
There was a little bit of contact between Richie and Bitto, but again, they're still both moving in the right direction, so won't be too problematic Alex really struggling through the S's. Kai almost sent it up the inside, coming through turn 6, thought better of it. But now, does he find his way on the inside into the Degnars? No, he doesn't. And again, just too tricky. Too risky to put a wheel up the inside there. And Kai knows that. He backs out. Thinks about it. The hairpin, though. This is more likely Alex Bido closes off the inside beautifully to stop that move. But he knows that his 8th place is under real threat. And just look at the way Jeffrey Ritchie is pulling into the distance. He is becoming a speck in the horizon for Alex and Kai as they battle it out for 8th place. Alex losing it a little bit through Spoon, and well, he is struggling big time. I wonder whether that's a wet setup as Kai, great run here out of Spoon down this back straight. Alex Bido, the rear white blinking. It's not because it's raining anymore. The sun is shining. It's just because he is out of battery. 6% for the Haas, but he doesn't lose the position into the Casio triangle. Turn 1, though, might be a very, very different story here. He's managed to hold Kai up a bit, but DRS, ERS, there is nothing the Haas can do. And Kai comes screaming past, and 8th place is his. But can he hunt down Jeffrey Ritchie to get back in the fight with him?
I think that's a tall order. I think that's a real tall order. 8 laps, the difference between the tires, between Ritchie and Kai here. Wisp, Cozy right now, they're wheel to wheel coming through the Casio triangle. Cozy ahead of Wisp. Wisp shooting into the pit lane, getting off of 20 lap old mediums, 21 lap old mediums as he crosses in. Meanwhile, up at the front, Brownie notably setting that fastest lap the last round through. 131.598 ahead of Exit and Candy King.
Yeah, it's a nice lap time, but you know, how much ERS did he push for that? And, you know, did he want to, or is he sort of forced into that? As the yellow flag is up, Wisp is having problems in turn 1. And I think that's been dispersed. So Vexit will be clear for the overtake if he can get it here on Brownie. There's no DRS for the McLaren, but he's just done enough, I think, to hold off the Alpine driver. It's very, very close, but he doesn't find any room. Got the inside of Candy King just trying to hold on here.
Very critical battle here, and as you mentioned, Candy King just trying to hold on here. Wisp with a retirement, and that is coming up. Actually, that's just outside of the second Degner, just under the bridge. Here we have Brownie now. Car has been removed. 10 drivers remain in the race. Lap 29 out of 53. Still a few battles remaining, of course.
Plenty of time for things to shuffle around. Safety cars. I don't know whether we're expecting the weather to come back. It looks pretty clear right now, but there are still a few clouds in the sky for a late upset.
Brownie up 7 positions holding this lead, of course, and it's been a great push from the German. Exit really holding very well this entire race. Of course, starting in pole. Now charging him down. Battery and utilization. DRS outside line. Brownie with a little bit of a squeezing opportunity. He wants that inside here. He holds that inside. Does Vexit find any traction? Well, he wanted to push around the outside there, but he just didn't have enough to close the gap once Brownie had his exit.
It was bold to go for the inside, but Brownie knows that Vexit doesn't want that, and then it's more likely he's going to get it at the inside, so covers what he needed to, and has done so well. The defense, very, very nice from the German. The problem he has is he's got 23 laps to try and keep this Alpine at bay. He's doing very well now, but one slip up and it's all over. But then the same is true for Vexit, the same is true for Candy King, and there's only 10 races left in this race for a reason. There are struggles, there are difficulties at this track, and mistakes They've been creeping into everyone's drive. I don't think anyone tonight has been completely free of issue. Brownie, though, he's been certainly doing well. 7 places gained. And he'll be happy with how it's going. Tyres again. Do we see more pit stops before the end? I think softs might be coming out at some point later on, just to round things out on a faster compound. Vexit. Well, here's another go at it. Brownie almost fully depleted in terms of battery, and Vexit, well, he's not going to get forced to the outside this time. He's going to find any space on the inside that he can, and find it he does, up into first place, and he re-establishes his lead.
Very nice.
And well, on fresher tyres, he should run away with this a little bit, but Brownie, his defense has been good. How good is his chasing?
Well, tires right now, I think, are going to betray Brownie in comparison. I think defending is one thing, but attacking a completely different one. And now I think he needs to find Vexit to have a mistake or a couple of slip-ups, because you can see just narrowly extending this gap. 7 tenths right now is where it's holding. 8 tenths just shy as we come out of this hairpin. Brownie, not a lot of battery in reserve, of course, either. This is going to play with him in his defensive capability, or his offensive capability, more so in his current position. Holding DRS, critical.
Yeah, and there's only one DRS zone on the track, but it's an important one, because if you don't have that, that's crucial time you're missing out on. And more importantly, to an extent, it's time you're not forcing your opponent to use some of that battery to keep their self ahead of you. As Vexit, well, fastest lap of the race, he'll be happy with that one. Takes that point back for the time being, but I think we will see softs before the end, at least for a couple of people here. You know, no harm in Cozy going for an extra point, that kind of thing, because he's in last anyway. He's a lap down as well. Actually, I don't think he is. I was looking at the wrong Ferrari on the track map there, but no, he is a ways behind Alex Biddo.
Ways behind, but not yet lapped.
No, the safety cars, they prevented anyone getting lapped as of right now, at least anyone who's still in the race.
What a start to this race it was as well. We've really had things quiet down, but it was an explosive start. Wet conditions, and now an issue for, well, Alex Biddo. Alex is off once again. And it is a trend for him, unfortunately, in the Haas here in Suzuka. He's not a fan of it, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast. He's not the largest fan of the track. And no visible damage on that car at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be 20 laps to go as they cross. There it is, 33 of 53. And we're well past the halfway point now, where in a normal, traditional 50% lead race, we would have been done and dusted a few laps ago. Now we're into the endurance bit, where tyre wear obviously going to start playing a role.
Brownie holding so well on Vexit, though.
And no one's really running away with things. Obviously, those front three there, you know, separated by 4.4 from Juan Liu and, 15 seconds. As who's this? It's the AlphaTauri. Mick has had another problem through the S's and finds himself in the grass once more, and that is not where he wants to be at all. And maybe it's the setup problem, I don't know, but those tires shouldn't be dead yet. You can see, people with 8 lap older tires than him on this grid. 6 lap older tires, they should be going again, as Alex Biddo has a similar problem, but as to the Dunlop curve, he is sliding, and they're really, really struggling here.
That's rough. Very rough. Still struggling. Really a fight right now between our top three. Exit, Brownie, Candy King, all within 1 second, all within DRS of one another. Pushing into turn one. Exit, of course, on the best rubber. 18 lap old mediums. We're on lap 34 of 53. My name is Striffy. I'm here from Canada. Joining me, Unicorn from the UK. Kai at 31365, the Mercedes on the mediums.
And Mikko into the pits. I'm interested to see what he goes for here. I think it'll be another set of mediums at this stage, as it is. And they should take him to the end. With how that last set of tyres went for him, he won't be too happy, but I don't think it was tyre related, so we'll see whether he can sort out whatever problem it was.
Exit, Brownie, Candy King, just the true top three right now. One Lou, and that penalty really not helping him. About 9 seconds the gap when you take that penalty into consideration for that Ferrari driver. Jeffrey Ritchie, 12 seconds, and maybe we'll see him break into the top three. We'll have to see what kind of pace he has on the good mediums.
It's everyone biding their time, but it will be another pit window, I think. Mikko, of course, sort of forced in by the spins, the tyre weather, that one, of course. And we'll see what sort of benefit he has over Cozy here. You would imagine it will be quite substantial, even though Cozy, his tyres aren't very worn at all. 14 laps, but even still, Mikko should have the clear advantage. He's got ERS, he's got DRS as well. And well, there you go. The inside, a little bit of almost wheel rubbing between the two, but as easy as you like. You won't see many more as easy as that. But honestly, there was a little bit of a moment there, and they were
that was pretty tight.
dancing down the straight.
A very tight move for Mikko. It's quiet action at the minute, not too much happening. A little bit of DRS train on the rear of Exit with Brownie and Candy King, and no battery utilization on Candy King. He's not really putting in a huge effort to hold Brownie at the moment. Brownie on Vexit. Vexit using, well, he's got about 25% battery right now, dancing around between 25 and 30.
And ERS management always important. And Candy King, you know, this is maybe a saving grace here that he hasn't been challenging for that front row spot. And Suzuka, the management is important because there's so little DRS around the track. It means that if you've got an advantage in terms of ERS, it can sort of act in a similar way as there's the fastest lap for you. Mikko 130.730, so those fresher tyres, as you'd expect, are quicker. Gabox, well, he came in for fresh softs. Now, those are, you know, going to be tricky to get to the end, but I think they'll just about make it. This is where Vexit holds the upper hand compared to his, you know, win rivals in Brownie and Candy King right now. He's got 7 lap fresher tyres, and that means he can extend comfortably to the soft stint, if not to the end, potentially, on those tyres.
Exit now. Holding Brownie. Nobody pitting. Nobody really choosing to get off of these mediums. And in this position, do you go to the end or do you come in? Can you go to the end?
I don't think going to the end will be a comfortable experience at all for him. So I think it will be soft, but you know, with a safety car, maybe he risks it, but I don't think so. I think when the two guys behind him come in, you know, it hurts the undercut opportunity for Brownie and Candy King, because they've not really got the cards in their favor there in lap. So Vexit, he holds, you know, a lot of power right now. Candy King, though, with that ERS, as Brownie is building up a nice reserve of it too. He's just gone past 60%. Vexit about half of that.
Potentially preparing for his next leadership stint. Who knows? Wanting to build it up as much as he can. Candy King with the most battery out of the trio. Really cannot make a mistake, and Brownie just narrowly avoiding that 1 second. Just within it. Of course, let us know in the chat who you're rooting for right now in this top 3 battle. Vexit, Brownie, or Candy King. Putting on one heck of a show up front right now on this grid. We have 10 drivers remaining.
Yeah, really, really, you know, tight race between these front 3, but none of them want to risk it. Like you said, a mistake at this stage, it would be very, very costly, and they don't want to risk that. Right now it's a safe podium for all 3 of them, and the last few laps is when pushes will start to be made. But right now, at this stage, 15 laps to go, and with a potential pit stop in it for everyone, they don't want to risk too much.
Here we go. A little bit of a push there from Brownie, I thought, but maybe not. Juan Lu coming in.
It seems a little futile to hope for an undercut for him, but he may as well, you know, go for something, because Richie will come past him. Still just the top 3 in any sort of striking distance of one another, and like we said, they're not making any mistakes, trying to take any risks as well. There is a mistake from someone. Cozy's out,
And that's a safety car.
well, there's the front 3 all in. There's no way they're not.
Yeah, that's got to be coming in here. Anything short of a pit stop here is a mistake. Exit. Yeah, on the way in, Brownie. Yeah. I would have been shocked had he stayed out.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I don't think Juan Lu here is close enough at all to get either of them. And well, I wonder if he's, you know, able to get Richie and Kai, because that would be awful for him if he wasn't. But they are coming in as well. And I think the Ferrari should get past them. It's going to be close, but the front 3, well, nothing changes amongst them, and well, that might have been the only thing that would have changed things around for them. They're all going to go on 100% battery as well, so this really evens the playing field, and will bring a couple of other drivers into it as well.
When you say a couple, you really do mean a couple, because when you look at the penalty situation here, Unicorn, you've got Wan Lu at 6 seconds, Kai with 3, Gabox with 3, and Alex Bido with 9, and really that only leaves Richie and Mikyao, who don't have penalties, left in that order. And Mikyao now moving through into 7th position ahead of Gabox G. Bido, of course, he's coming through the Casio Triangle. He'll fall in line behind his teammate. This Gabox has a major hold up here, and while he does have that wing change coming through, Bido might even pass. Well, Bido had an issue on his way into the pit lane, at the very least on my end. So, wow, 40 out of 53. We're under safety car conditions. We're gonna have a serious, well, sprint to the end. Soft compound tires for everybody, except Mick.
Yeah, a little surprising to see him not come in here. Obviously, those tires are fresh and they will get to the end, obviously. But the fact that he's not choosing to come in here and put himself on equal terms with everyone else, he's already done it. He doesn't have penalties. Maybe that's what he's going for. You know, safer option. Not trying to go forwards on track. Just try and stick within 3 seconds of Kai, maybe 6 seconds of Wan Lu. Keep himself clean and avoid some of the mistakes he had in the S's earlier on, but I'd have thought, you know, a fresh set of tires would help against that.
Really liven things up, to say the least.
All right, we'll go going around again. Well, there is Mikyao into the pit lane. He's going for 1 lap fresher tires. And that does equal the playing field for him, and he's just about got ahead of Gabox there. Very, very tight.
Been a really quiet build up to this moment now when we get everybody back together on this grid, and I think Bido might just make it. He might just make it so that we see the safety car come in this lap. Unless, well, it decides to come in anyway. Exit, Brownie, Candy King, your top 3. Wan Lu in 4th position. Jeffrey Ritchie rounding out our top 5. Kai, Mikyao, Gabox, and Alex Bido, the remainder of this grid. And as we follow exit to the sector split into sector 3, the safety car staying out.
Again, it's the margin there seems very, very strict as to how close that back person needs to be. We saw this earlier on with the last safety car, where the couple of cars just not quite on the rear of the train. Obviously, for Bitter, this is great news, but everyone else, you know, I don't really want to go around again. Here
No,
on.
It's just prolonging a restart here that I think would have been fine, because you think about the fact that that safety car indicates that it's coming in. What happens is the grid slows itself down. Everybody stops what they're doing, kind of. That pace drops and everyone warms their tires, and then therefore Bido, who's been pushing to catch the grid, he's already got warm tires. As soon as they're kind of ready to go, he's right there ready to go with them. One could say Alex Bido would have an advantage in that circumstance.
Well, I mean, he's still, you know, at the back, and he'd have to go through the Casio Triangle, of course. That would be the biggest problem there, and I wonder whether that's why they've thought about that, because the Casio triangle exists, so when everyone else is accelerating out, he'd be going through it. But still, a little surprising that it is that straight. But again, for Alex Beto, it'll help him out and just make sure he is there for that sprint. But like you said, there are things that mean that Alex Beto definitely not. At too much of a disadvantage there.
Surely will be coming in at the end of this lap, and it will be a serious sprint to the end. Buddy on those softs.
Yeah, no softs have been preserved under the safety car, and obviously that extra lap, they'll be happy about that. And it's all about getting a good exit here, and the warming of the tires certainly underway. Everyone down that back straight, weaving through 130R as well, trying to get them to the best temperature that they can. Great recovery drive from Richie as well, who might even see himself on the podium if he can get Candy King. Another best middle portion of this race, but now with just over 10 laps to go, he's right back up there in the top 5. Vex sits away, and he's caught Brownie nicely, not hugely unaware. He won Lou, pushing Candy King, and well, Richie's right there on the outside as well in the Aston Martin, side by side with the Ferrari. He has to back out from Candy King, but Richie's looking for it, has to adjust himself as they come through the corner, has to back out. No positions swapped, but brilliant racing from the pair of them to stay side by side. Clearly Alex Beto, well, Beto's off, he slams it into the grass and just about keeps it under the wall in the Haas, but his teammate and Mikko go through, and they're fighting through the Dunlop curve. The Haas on the inside, the outside as they go to the Degnas. Mikko late on the brakes, really holding his line. Bravery personified there for the AlphaTauri, but a brilliant move from him to hold us to 7th place. And well, Alex, well, the safety car waited so patiently for him, and now he's further back than he was under the safety car.
Very explosive restart there. A lot of risks being taken from drivers, but as you mentioned, no positions being exchanged, and Juan Luz just picked up an additional 3 seconds to add to his tally at the end of the race, which will be great news for anyone on this grid that doesn't have as many time penalties at the end of the campaign. But Vexit just dancing around that 1 second margin with Brownie. 2nd position, he'll need to really push to hold him right now with a good exit out of the final 18th turn. You can see that battery in utilization just a little bit. Candy King dancing around that 1 second as well. No DRS just yet into turn 1. We'll have that in a couple laps time. But everything to play for between these front 3. All about this potential race win that Vexit has been holding on to for a great deal of time now. The pole sitter in this race.
Yeah, he's done very, very well on this restart, and that's going to eat into Brownie's ERS, but the reason he's got that gap is because he's eating into his own ERS. And Candy King again, not the best restart, but holding on to lots of battery. Richie didn't get past yet, but he will get that place on penalties. 9 seconds for Juan Lu right now, but he needs to get past the Ferrari if he wants a podium, because we have to go and fight the guys that are up ahead. So we'll see what Richie's got up his sleeve in the dying stages, but he's been struggling. I wonder whether maybe too focused on the wet the setup or what's up there for the Dutch driver, not on his typical form. But Vexit, well, he came into this race, we knew he liked the track, and well, he's really delivered, and qualifying was dominant. The race, not quite so much. He's had Brownie here for a lot of it. There's a yellow flag, and it's Alex Beto again, this time off on the exit of Spoon. And really, despite the fact that he's still in this race, he is struggling big time. DRS re-enabled, and well, Richie doesn't have it yet, but he doesn't need it as he goes past the Ferrari, and he will take 4th place, and now able to hunt down the Alfa Romeo of Candy King for that last podium position.
Train is starting to separate just a touch here. 45 of 53. What a long haul it's been. It's hard to imagine that we've really started this race. We started this race in wet intermediates.
Yeah, and obviously that presents those challenges. And again, Alex Pedot, another problem for the Spaniard. Just trying to get to the end of this one now, I think. He's come this far, may as well round it out, but he's about half a lap down. And well, the top three, they've re-established their gaps that they were sort of at before the safety car. The tyres now completely equalised, and well, that's really in favour of Brownie and Candy King. And both of them, they've had to burn off a bit of battery now. DRS is in full utilisation. No, the rear wing pops open on the McLaren. It will pull him towards Vexit. It won't pull him past him, though. He's too far back to get any move into turn one. And well, he's right there on the gearbox of Vexit, but again, just unable to do anything about it.
A thrilling race between these drivers.
One lose out.
Oh, that's not good at all. That is the Ferrari out of this race, and that is in the S's. And that's where we've seen multiple drivers have issue in this race. That is going to be a yellow flag and nothing more.
I think, safety car at this late stage would be pretty pointless. The yellow flag. I think that might actually be one of these little hoaxes as I look on Alex Pedot's car, and it's got a bit of gone very luminescent green in parts, and it's fixed itself now, but the wire mesh that the game's used has popped up for a second there, so that's an interesting little visual glitch.
I've been seeing that on my end as well. On the rear wing of the Haas.
Was the sort of engine cover for me, but I'm curious as to why that's popped up now. I don't think I've seen that before that instance. Interesting little visual glitch there.
Yeah, the fin of the engine cover. .47 of 53 Vexit, man. Within half a second, Brownie has been holding Vexit, and you gotta think it's not easy to hold that consistency.
No, and especially, considering that he's leading, he's under that pressure. Brownie's a bit closer this time. He might have a bit of a run into turn one here, but the question is, does he go for it? Because you put yourself ahead now, Lex is going to have to charge the battery up a bit. He's going to be able to go for it later in the race. Obviously, there aren't many opportunities left. Brownie's deploying. They're both burning, but Brownie's got way more to play with. Does he empty the tank and go for the move here? He sure as hell looks like he's going to go for it around the outside into turn one. There is nothing Vexit can do to stop that one, and Brownie leads on lap 48 of 53. The German has the ERS advantage. There's no tyre difference between the two. There's no penalty difference between the two. And really, Candy King hasn't been applying the pressure that he was earlier on. He hasn't got the battery to do so. Is Brownie able to hold off Vexit? He did so well earlier defending against the Alpine, but it didn't last too long before it crumbled. Has he got it in him for 5 laps?
Oh, he needs to find everything on these last few laps. Candy King. He's there within half a second. And if there's anything to push with, he needs to push with it now and really just kind of keep himself tight within anything that unfolds with Brownie and Vexit. High on the rear of Richie within half a second as well. The penalty for him, 3 seconds. Same for Gabux, 9 seconds for Bido.
Well, here goes Vexit's first attempt at Brownie, and again, Brownie still has the ERS advantage. He's not going to use it. Vexit snaps narrowly up the inside, similar to how he did. Brownie looks at the switchback, doesn't risk it yet. Kai and Jeffrey Ritchie are going to exchange as well. The Mercedes does have a time penalty, but obviously may as well get the move done if you can. And a lot of these drivers, they do like to get it done on track, as it's a little bit of lap for me at least.
Well, one thing I can say for certain is that Richie had a major gap of about 12 seconds earlier on to these guys in the top 3, and he's broken that down to about 4 with Kai now and him fighting. That might not be achievable for Richie to push on Candy King. Exit Brownie, Bruce Spoon, Candy King, just about 6/10. Same with Brownie. Brownie, more battery out of the 3. We'll see what he's got as we come into the chicane. What he can do coming out of the other side. Can he bring a run on Vexit? Do we see lap after lap exchanges, or is there a major strategy play? He uses a little bit of battery on exit. He's got that rear wing wide open, but he isn't really pushing on the rear of this Alpine. He's not utilizing that battery. Vexit, however, in an entirely different position in this Alpine. He's in a very defensive position. No one in front of him to allow him the DRS. As we have a yellow flag popping up. I'm not entirely sure what's occurred. It's a yellow through sector 1.
Yeah, I'm looking at Alex Bido and I'm not seeing any problems with him, and he's not letting anyone pass because of blue flags. He is now a lap down, I believe, as there's some sort of problem going on, I think.
Richie on the rear of Kai, that half a second margin, very common right now for top 5. We've just got Kai, kind of that one driver holding up Richie.
Not too long left, and Brownie has to pick his moment. He's been doing so well to harvest this battery. 51 of 53. He's gonna go for it again on Vexit, just like we saw a few laps ago. Easy as you like around the outside before you get to turn 1. The question is, though, is a 30% battery advantage enough to hold Vexit off? Because there's only 2 more runs down into turn 1. If Vexit gets him at the start of the next lap, Brownie has to get him on the final lap or overtake somewhere else on track, and there is no question about it. Turn 1 is the best overtaking spot. Obviously a lunge into the Casio triangle potential, the hairpin, of course. Sector 3, there's opportunities, but they don't arise all too frequently, and when you've only got 2 laps to find them, well, that's when mistakes are made. That's when the pressure comes piling on. And also, Candy King, well, he's wormed his way back into this fight, so if there is a mistake,
He's there.
it could cost them a position. He's right there. He's got 50% ERS. He is ready and waiting to pounce.
Brownie and Vexit, they've been fighting all race long, really, at the top of this grid. Brownie with the major positions gained, 7 positions gained. He has the most positions gained in the remaining active drivers, and we are now beginning the penultimate lap, ladies and gentlemen, of this race. Lap 52 of 53, Vexit with the DRS. No battery to really waste here. If there's anything, he'll have to wait until the final lap run.
And I would not be surprised to see him go for it into turn 1. If he doesn't find out so the problem is, and there's a problem, Kai is off into the gravel, spinning monumentally. And I thought he might have been out there for a second, but he seems to be okay. Car getting back onto the circuit, but he will drop down the 7th, and I don't think none will change unless someone in front of him has an incident of their own. And Candy King a little bit wobbly through the hairpin. That is problematic for him. Kai off the track again, and well, he's got no front wing now, so does he try and finish the race without it, just so that Alex Bitto doesn't overtake him? Because if he comes into the pits, I'm not sure. It's going to be close either way, but he's a long way from the pit lane. But back up to the front, there's 1 lap to go, 1 sector on this penultimate lap left. And he's going to look at it into the Casio triangle. He's not going to go for it, or is he? Late on the brakes. And well, there's a bit of contact between the two. He slides. And now Candy King is right here on his rear. And well, DRS is open for the pair of them. There's a nice gap between Brownie and Vexit. There's not a nice gap between Vexit and Candy King as they go side by side down into turn 1. The Alfa Romeo on the last lap. Does he find it? He doesn't. The Alpine, though, using all of its battery. Candy King, well, he's deployed most of his, and it's Brownie who leads with the most ERS out of anyone in the top 3. Richie's 6.5 seconds behind. He's got nothing unless there's a problem for one of these 3. And my oh my, was that a big mistake for Vexit. He got a bit impatient. Brownie lured him into that beautifully in the Casio triangle and reaped the rewards. He's got half a lap now to just hold on.
Not over yet,
but it's going to be so hard.
Oh, I agree. It is a very serious push here. Lap 53 of 53 into the spoon curve. Brownie, 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths now, just shy of half a second. Brownie needing to find a good exit here. Vexit on the power, utilizing that battery. Candy King, same situation. It's all going to be about this final chicane and the run out.
The run to the line is so short that a lunge up the inside now would be the best place, but he's not going to have it. And I think Brownie, what a race for the McLaren driver to take P1 here after a stunning performance from Vexit. This falls apart in the final few laps. Brownie's strategy, his management worked out beautifully there. ERS defending, Vexit leaving very promptly. I don't think he's happy with that. Hopefully we might be able to talk to him in a moment. And Candy King, what a podium for him. Very well deserved. Stuck with these two superbly throughout those 53 laps. Jeffrey Ritchie, a great recovery from him. Was outside of the points at one point after a great start to the race, and it didn't end all too well for him. And well, he started P2. He was in P1 for a little bit, and then he came crashing down. Finishes P4 though. Mikau, he certainly had his ups and downs in this race, but finishes where he started in 5th. Yabox finishes 6th. 12th on the grid, a huge gain for him. Kai down 3. Late problem for him. He did get that front wing changed, and he does finish well ahead of Alex Bitto. And well, the Spaniard, the Suzuka curse continues, but he does finish the race, and P8 it is, and drive of the day 2 for the Spaniard.
It was a very, very intense, thrilling race, especially among those top 3 here. And the opening was very wild with the wet conditions to dry conditions, strategy. There was so much strategy play there. I really enjoyed it. And then we saw the safety cars start to come through, play a little bit of a role here in the race as well. But man, what a drive from this guy right here, Brownie. Stellar campaign from him and Vexit, as well as Candy King. Really love to see it. Classification. Brownie. 29.675 his best run. Vexit there. 4.71. Annie King 7.27. So tight between these guys. Richie was really burning it in the end to try and catch up, but fell short in the end. He started it on front row. He had a heck of a comeback in this one, though, and Brownie takes that win. Great drive. Mikau held station 5th. Love this one as well, Unicorn.
Yeah, absolutely. Those last few laps, they really did provide the action. Brownie, 8th to 1st. Those last few laps really just showed true quality from him, and well, took advantage of the start, took advantage of everyone sort of having their problems, and probably had the most flawless race out of everyone to climb like that. There were, mistakes from pretty much everyone in that race. It is a difficult track, and you compound upon that the rain we had at the start, and whether we saw maybe some adaptations to setups as a result. And maybe that's what caused problems for the likes of Mikau, whose tires really shouldn't have been gone, but he was sliding around in the S's. Alex Bitter, of course, having all of his problems. Kai at the end there. No one really, even those who have finished this race, coming away from that one unscathed at some point. But at the end of the day, it is Brownie who walks away with 25 points. Obviously, this one much more of a community race than our tiered action, but a huge performance from him nonetheless. And I do believe we have an interview.
We are going to talk to our race winner, Mr. Brownie. It was one heck of a drive, 7 positions gained in the end of this race. One heck of a battle all the way through from start to finish with Vexit as well as Candy King. Brownie, welcome back to the commentary booth. Congratulations on another podium and, well, one heck of a victory here in Suzuka.
Oh, thank you. That was crazy. Awesome race. Again, like Zandvoort, fighting the whole, I don't know how many laps, 40 laps, something with Vexit.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
Extremely intense. Safety cars playing a bit of a role today, of course, really shaking things up in strategy for everybody on the racing grid. How are you feeling with the wet conditions at the start?
I was feeling good. I was driving very high downforce, so I was faster than the cars in front of me, but I couldn't overtake. So, yeah, I switched to 11 front wing in the wet.
It was a very tough battle with you and Vexit. There was a moment where he had some good tire advantage on you by about 7 or 8 laps. Was that a major factor for you, knowing that he had fresher tires? Because we then saw another safety car come out, and then you guys became equal.
The thing about that is, so there's, I wanted to troll. I wanted to start on hards with maximum pressures. So my setup was just maximum pressures, and when I went to mediums, they were still overheating a lot. So I knew as the fuel would get burned off, I knew I would get faster and temperatures get lower, and I also would have less wear than Vexit overall. I mean, you had pressure tires, but I think at the end I probably would have had better tires than him because I was running maximum.
Well, one heck of a strategy call there in the end from you, and all the setup working to race most definitely. Of course, Unicorn, any questions for Brownie after this campaign?
Well, Brownie, obviously Shift's already mentioned it. You've spoken about it a bit there, but those final few laps, obviously, how tricky is it in that, environment to just hold your nerve? Because we saw you, earlier in the race defend from Vexit, but in those last few moments, the pressure's on. This is for the race win at this point because it's all, right there on a platter that you can see who you're racing. It's just you and him, really, with a bit of Candy King, waiting to pounce if there's a mistake. But how hard is it to just keep your head, screwed on straight when it's so pressurized for the win?
I was feeling good because I used to be fast, so I know how it is to be fast, and somehow I was fast today. So, and I noticed that I did not lose time to exit in the corners, even though I had much less downforce. So I knew I was in a better position overall. So I just had to play it smart, and I knew I could. I had, when I overtook him the last time, I had 45% ERS, and I thought that that's enough to push for 2 laps and keep him behind. That was the thinking behind it. Yeah.
Well, Brownie, congratulations. A huge win here tonight. Vexit, very strong in qualifying, but you're the one who comes away with 25 points. So a huge congratulations, and well, we'll hope to see you next time. And
Thank you.
Congratulations once again.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care, Brownie. Excellent stuff hearing from Brownie, of course. And we're going to now talk to Luke Smith, who was, of course, our pole sitter in this race, but a very tight battle right down to the final lap with Brownie. Saw him finish 2nd position. Luke, welcome back to the commentary booth. You've had multiple visits to the commentary booth after your races. How are you feeling after this one? Maybe bittersweet. It's a podium, but not the win. How are you feeling after Suzuka today? 53 laps.
Well, I've definitely got some positives to take and some negatives. Got some things to learn about a full race distance rather than just quali. The positive was obviously qualifying. That was my online PB by over a tenth, so that was very nice. But yeah, the race, I just didn't have as much straight line speed as Brownie. He was able to save up his ERS a lot better and keep with me when I tried to pull away. So yeah, he mastered the strategy perfectly, especially in the last 10 laps on those softs after the safety car. And yeah, lots of things to learn, but overall a very enjoyable race.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it here on my end. Of course, Unicorn, anything from you for Luke after that really solid campaign? We saw the wet to dry. We saw, of course, Luke take pole. Any questions from you?
Well, yeah, Vexit, obviously, the last few laps, they're really what it all came down to between you and Brownie. And there was that one moment, I think it was the penultimate lap, lap 52, where you were earlier off the brakes into the Casio triangle. And it looked like that was make or break. And what was your thought process for trying it there rather than waiting for the DRS? Was that always your plan, or did you think he went a little early? But it looked like that was the move that ultimately cost you in the end. What was just sort of going on there in that, basically the final overtaking opportunity of the race?
Well, because I knew that I wasn't able to get close enough on the traction. His traction was a lot better. He had more rear downforce, I think, than me. So he was able to get a better drive out of the last corner. So what I was trying to do was be early enough, or be behind him at the detection point for DRS, but then be a lot closer or side by side, which would compromise his traction, or either give me track position, and that would have hopefully given me the win. But of course, that was my thinking, and it didn't work out that way, so yeah.
Well, unlucky, but a huge performance nonetheless. Like you said, that qualifying was unbelievable, and the race as well, obviously, in the last few laps didn't quite turn out the way you wanted it, but a podium around here after so many people had issues, and the changeable positions are still a great result for you.
Yeah, and had a great time as well, considering it's probably my favorite track in the whole F1 game, so yeah.
Well, it definitely showed today, no doubt. Well, thank you very much, Luke, and well, again, congratulations on the podium.
Thank you.
That was Luke, of course, our 2nd position finisher after a stellar battle with Brownie, and I am all wiped out after that one, Unicorn. That was a thrilling race, of course. Suzuka, 53 laps. We saw it all. We saw the rain. We saw the safety cars. We saw some drama, spins, overtaking, intensity. We really got everything we could ask for here in Japan, and that is, well, really it from me for this week's Endurance. Anything left from you after that awesome campaign before we wrap things up and send things off to a member of the F1 stream community?
Well, I just think those last few laps were absolutely epic between Brownie and Vexit there. But obviously throughout that race, we saw some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action, side-by-side drama with the spins, etc. Again, this track, it's not easy in this new game. It seems to be a lot more difficult than it was before. And like, you know, an endurance race that obviously gives you double the amount of times to have problems. So for those who did finish and, you know, finish in style, it was a brilliant race to watch. And Striff, it's always a pleasure to commentate alongside you. But yeah, to everyone who's been watching along home, thank you all so much. Your support always means the world. But until next time, take it easy, stay safe, and we'll catch you in the next one.